What's going on, Sens fans? Welcome back to another post-game coverage, and it's been way too long since we've done one of these. There's just been a lot of stuff going on. As many of you might know, New Era Sens has turned over to New Era Hockey Network, and so right now they're covering all of the Canadian sports teams. And Jack, you have something else on the go. You want to talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, I'm kind of starting a bit of a different-looking podcast with Nick Dumoulin, Brendan Dexler. I might be messing that up, and Derek Lee, and it's kind of going to be once every couple weeks, and we just have a Sens prospect on, or just give our opinions on the state of the prospect pool and a bunch of different guys. So it'll be fun to get that going, and so this is exciting things coming.
Yeah, and it's a great time to be looking at prospects. And yeah, what a fantastic time to start that. So yeah, hope for the best for that and bright future for both. So we can get into tonight's game. The game didn't start off very well very quickly. Winnipeg easily capitalized on a really open shot, and Ottawa looked really rusty coming out of the gates.
Yeah, that was something about this team on the road is just a little troubling. They don't seem to have their legs. They look like a different team half the time. And I mean, aside from that game on Saturday against Montreal, it's just not pretty every time they start anyways. And Forsberg kind of kept them in it for a good amount of this game. I mean, 46 shots against is not ideal for a team. So I was looking on Twitter already, and DJ has not been very happy, it seems, in his comments, and rightfully so.
Yeah, I wouldn't imagine. There was a lot of ups and a lot of downs to this game. I mean, realistically, this shouldn't have been a 4-3 game. Ottawa did a great job coming back in the third period, and played a great period nonetheless. But just, this team fell apart this game, and huge props to Anton Forsberg for doing something.
It reminds me a lot of Joey Decord's first win against the Leafs when, the Sens were the much better team that whole game, and then Toronto kind of stormed back at the end and almost tied it up. But this was kind of similar to that. But, this wasn't the Jets being a better team. This was the Sens shooting themselves in the foot, and that's not a fun way to lose either way. I mean, the giveaways that happened were a little egregious, but those have been happening all year. It's just the power play that's just unbelievable, unbelievably bad, I should say. They have 3 straight games with a goal now, but that top unit needs to figure something out, and I don't know what it is, but the entries.
I think they made a good step tonight. Made a good step tonight by taking Dadonov off of the first unit and putting Connor Brown on. I didn't see anybody tweet anything about that on Twitter tonight.
I think that happened a couple games ago. I feel like it happened a couple games ago. I don't want to, or maybe at practice. I remember there was at practice they tweeted it out and people took notice of that. But I think it's a good play because Connor Brown and Nick Paul are your guys who are going to go get the puck, and that was the problem on this power play. That being said, though, Dadonov on the second unit was doing just that. So he's clearly revitalized. He knows he needs to be playing better, and he has been. Another assist tonight for him. So. I think that they're making those changes. It's just it's that drop pass, and we'll get into the. We should actually talk about this right now. Is the face-offs? If they're not winning that face-off on the power play, they're not going to have success on the power play for the rest of the 2 minutes. But man, the face-offs.
So it's noteworthy that Brady Tkachuk takes most of the face-offs on that first power play, and he went 1 for 5 tonight at 20%. So.
Well, look, and I pointed this out before, but even taking Dadonov off and throwing Connor Brown out there, you still don't have a natural centerman out on the face-off or out on the ice. And I know Tkachuk's been pretty good at face-offs in his whole career and stuff, but it doesn't matter. It's to the point you want Tkachuk to be the guy to go in and win the scramble draw because he's going to do that. He's not as good as Josh Norris, who had a beautiful goal, probably his nicest goal of the season. Just a perfect shot over Hellebuck, the last Vezina winner, right? Like he just beat him clean. And Norris has just been really impressing all season. And he struggled on the draws tonight, but he took the most out of anyone. He was 7-11. So 7 wins, 11 losses. And the next closest was, Tierney took 9. So not really even close to how many Norris took. And that says a lot about the way he's developing this season.
Yeah, it's crazy how much development. I saw a few people tweet out today that nobody expected Josh Norris to be this good coming into the NHL. He obviously has earned his spot on that top line, and just depending on kind of chemistry, he's been thrown second line and third line by order, but he's always playing top 5 in minutes. So like, he just really earned this role, and it's great to see him capitalize on those shots because I think Locked On tweeted out earlier that Josh Norris scored that goal 20 times last year in Belleville.
Oh yeah, I remember watching his highlights last year in Belleville, and he has 30 goals in the Belleville. He led all rookies in goals, and he was the rookie of the year for a reason. So that's what I think I've mentioned it before. It was odd seeing him, all of his goals that he had gotten this year. It wasn't like he wasn't producing, just not at the same clip, I guess. But all the goals he had were kind of flukes, and they weren't really him beating goalies clean. And then you saw, I think he mentioned himself in media sessions, he wants to he wanted to shoot the puck more, and that's just something that comes with getting more comfortable in the NHL, obviously, right? You just get more comfortable shooting it. You get that confidence. So a goal like that is big for him, I think, just in the way he shoots it. But I was also thinking about him. I think he's been my favorite player to watch all season. Just maybe a favorite new guy, let's say, but he's just been so consistent. I don't think he's ever had a bad game. He's made a couple mistakes here and there, but he's a rookie, and like I think he's going to be a massive part of this team moving forward. And it's just another one of those trades that's just working out for Dorion.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Like you mentioned from the trade, and people almost like look at that trade and just think, yes, we got Stützle. We got the second and third best rookies this season.
No, I know.
In that trade. It's crazy.
It's crazy, and I think Norris could even have a bigger impact than people will give him credit for. Like if he can develop into a nice, like, you don't need a star centerman, right? Your centerman doesn't need to be your best player, but if he can have chemistry on a first line with Tkachuk, which they are right now, but if they end up just taking another step, there's no reason to think that he can't do it. And I think that that's huge for the depth of the team moving forward down the middle. And I think Shane Pinto is a big one as well, and we're going to see him very soon in a Sens jersey, which is exciting.
Yep.
But this is an interesting comment because we're kind of a little bit off topic, but if Chabot could make the Team Canada team, which is approaching, like they're going to have to start actually looking. So I kind of see this as I see two sides to this. Like one, if Chabot does make it, he's not anchoring anything. He's going to be, as stated here, he'll be like a 7th or an 8th defenseman probably.
Yep.
Maybe in the top 6, depending who his partner is. But that's where if I'm whoever, I'm not sure who's even the GM of Team Canada, but whoever's running it is going to have to say, hey, do I want a Thomas Chabot playing, on my third pairing, or do I want someone who can shut down a little bit better?
Yeah, so and that's a really interesting thing because you see all these guys that obviously you're going to have like just the big names off the top of my head, maybe not for next year, but like you have Shea Weber, Alex Pietrangelo, Drew Doughty, Morgan Riley, Brent Burns, just all these big names. But like you got to think of guys like I think Colton Parayko is Canadian, if I'm not wrong, but like he's never up there in the points or anything, but he's a great shutdown guy that you do want on the team. So
agreed, and I think it's going to be it's obviously going to be a much different team than Sochi because that's the last Olympic team we had. It's 8 years later.
Wow.
But yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised if there's a massive turnover. I don't know how many returning players there will be. I'm sure Weber will be there.
I don't know.
He's still pretty good. I'm just pulling up a mock roster here just to look. I know they made one recently. Regardless, if Chabot is even in the conversation, I think that's a good thing. I do think, though, that there's a big hole on the left side. Okay, yeah. So Shea Theodore, another big one.
Yeah.
He'll probably be there. Then this mock this was before the season. It's Sportsnet. I'll just kind of read it out here quickly. So I'm just looking. Yeah, it was written actually mid-season, February 2021. Okay. It's got Shea Theodore and Alex Pietrangelo as the top pairing. Those are both Vegas defensemen. That wouldn't be too bad. And then a middle pairing of Thomas Chabot and Cale Makar. That would be very fun to watch. I don't know if Chabot would be there. Samuel Girard's another name that I think will be in the mix.
Yep.
And then the next pairing has Morgan Riley, Dougie Hamilton, and then Aaron Ekblad as the seventh defenseman.
Yep.
I mean,
there's so many names. Like Drew Doughty, I think has a chance of making it just because of name brand.
Yeah.
Which I don't agree with at all. I don't think Drew Doughty should be on that team whatsoever. But like you still have guys like Mark Giordano, who obviously he's aging, but he might find a spot. You got Ryan Ellis. There's so many options.
So he lists a lot of defensemen that didn't make the cut here. So Drew Doughty isn't on there. Shea Weber, Duncan Keith, Samuel Girard, Brent Burns, Colton Parayko, Josh Morrissey, Mark Giordano, and Jake Muzzin. That's a lot. That's a lot of teams.
Muzzin's a good one.
Or a lot of guys. I would say that's a perfect example of who they might look to have instead of a Shabbat, right? Although I will say, I mean, of all those guys, yeah, I mean, Makar is probably going to be anchoring your top power play, but I mean, on the left side, they don't have a ton of like offense. Obviously, Morgan Riley is too, but it'll be interesting. I don't know. We'll see how Shabbat finishes out the year and how he starts next season. But as of right now, I would expect that he's in the mix for sure.
Yeah, and like this comment says, Luongo's the GM for Team Canada. Shabbat will definitely travel, but could be 7 or 8 and 100%.
Nothing wrong with that. Yeah, and I think just the experience of going to the Olympics would be really cool for him. Yeah. So yeah, and I mean, I'm assuming Stützle will be on Team Germany, and then Brady Tkachuk should be on Team USA. I'm not sure if he will, but he would be in the mix for mine as well. But yeah, that's our mock Olympic rosters, I guess.
Yeah, so I'm looking at a USA one from The Athletic, and so down the left side they have Goudreau, Miller, Connor, Tkachuk, and then Gensel as a scratch, which I think Gensel should be in there over either of the Tkachuks, at least on an offensive team.
Yeah.
And like playing Brady and Matthew on the fourth line, that would be incredible. But I think Gensel brings a lot more. At least, well, depending on how they play.
I've seen some mocks that had Brady Tkachuk and Matthew Tkachuk centered by Austin Matthews, and that's just like lethal to think, right? These are all-star teams, so either way you spin it, it's going to be a good combination. But
yeah,
I would expect he's in the mix. Yeah.
And you look down the center, like if they both play, they're almost guaranteed to play on the same line. What coach isn't going to do that? At least for a game or two. But the centers, Austin Matthews, Jack Eichel, probably Dylan Larkin and Jack Hughes would be my guess. Joe Pavelski, if he doesn't slow down, would be a good one.
Jack Hughes is an interesting one. I don't. He's kind of tailed off, but he had a really good start. I don't really know the American depth down the middle and stuff, but yeah. I mean, maybe Shane Pinto. Let's see. Why not?
Next year. Oh man, could you imagine?
Probably not, but I mean, that's an exciting thing to think about. The Nodak prospects coming. I guess we haven't even really done one since they signed, right? So Bernard Docker and Pinto elected to not go back to UND for next year, but Jake Sanderson is going back, so it'll be Sanderson and Clevin there next year, and maybe they'll draft another prospect that's going as a freshman. But I don't know. I mean, I'm a little disappointed, I got to say, with Sanderson because it would have been cool to see him this year, but that's just me being a little bit greedy. But I will say that I'm really, really excited to see Bernard Docker and Pinto. A lot, probably the most pressure on any of the prospects coming in so far, I think, because they make such a big bulk of that prospect pool. You know?
Yeah. Like
that's how I'd put it.
You look at Tim Stützle when he came in, he was drafted 3rd overall. The little cute German coming in that everybody falls in love with immediately. And like you feel like there's no pressure on him. He's just come here, have fun, do what you can for now. Yeah. We'll get there. With these guys, everybody's talking about JBD, put him with Shabbat tomorrow. Like,
yeah,
that's a lot of pressure to put on kid. I think I'm 100% for it to play him with Shabbat. I don't think that should be the expectation. And same with Pinto. Like, he's not going to come in and be our second line center. He's going to come in and probably be our second best center. But I don't think he's going to be coming in right away and immediately full time for the rest of his career playing with the two wingers.
I mean, who knows if he has, like, it really depends, I think, on his impact. I don't think they're going to play right after their quarantine. They'll probably practice a little bit, say, on the taxi squad. But yeah. I think the thing with Pinto is that he's kind of a bonus. Like, the forward group, we've always said this, the prospects of the forward group were more ready than the defense were.
Yep.
But the defense, like 3 of the major pieces are at UND, and Bernard Docker is one of them. So, and the D is the thing that needs the most help on this team. So I'm it's gonna be tough because we're a week away to the trade deadline right now. So I don't expect that we'll see them in the lineup before then, unless there's any injury.
Yeah.
Because I think they're going to try and showcase those veterans as much as possible.
Yeah.
But I do think we'll see them in Ottawa. I don't think they're going to for their first game. To answer that question there from Natty.
Yeah. So I think trade deadline is April 12th. I believe that's the date. And I expect their first game. I expect them both to play on April 14th. We play against Winnipeg again, I think. So I would expect both of them to be in that night. A few practices under their belt, a few days settled in, and I 100% expect them both to start in Ottawa.
I'm getting a little ahead of myself, thinking like Pinto in between Stützle and Batherson would be so perfect.
That's
would it not?
The ideal, I think.
I've watched a good amount of Pinto. No, actually, I kind of the opposite. I haven't watched a ton of him. I remember him at the World Juniors 2 years ago, right after his draft. The draft year, it was his last year of eligibility, and he was fantastic. It was kind of his coming out party, I think. He really took the tournament by storm. He was US's best player. So anyways, that was when I took note of him, and he's a really good face-off winning centerman. And I think if Stützle and Batherson can have the puck on their stick as much as possible, they're better for it. I do think though that Tierney has been better recently. He was abysmal tonight, like the rest of the team.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. It's a tough year for young centermen, which is why I think Norris is so impressive. People have talked about it a lot, like the Canadian division. Like, look at all these teams. You got, let's go top 3. The top 3 teams. It's Toronto. You got Matthews and Tavares as the top 2 centermen, and then I mean Edmonton. We know Edmonton because they're, just ruining the Sens with McDavid and Draisaitl. And then you go to Winnipeg, and then Dubois I think is a really underrated acquisition for them. And then Mark Scheifele. So it's just there's no break as a top 2 centerman. So that's why Norris has been really impressive. Just going head to head with those guys all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. A few more comments I want to get to here before we get into, I guess, really the rest of the game. I guess.
Yeah.
Right here, trade deadline is next Monday. Where does Connor Brown end up? First off, I think Connor Brown is almost an untouchable on this team. We have him signed for 2 more years after this year. He's staying for that contract. I would hope so.
Yeah, I think they've come out and said that him and Paul are pretty much untouchables in terms of moving for assets, and I think that's good. That shows that they've got a core in mind. I think, and trading. You can trade players for picks all day, but you gotta establish a culture, and I think that's what they're doing by keeping those guys.
Yeah, and then you also mentioned Artem Anisimov. I'd hope he goes for a pick, maybe a 5th or a 6th at the most, and that's if we're lucky. I don't think he's moving anywhere, unfortunately.
I don't think he will. I think he was just on waivers last week, and he's been playing great. A couple great games for him. But if you're not going to pick him for off waivers for free, and then a week later trade a pick for him, I don't think that's really likely.
Unless it's a situation that you need to move out of contract, or you don't want them to, or you trade for them, and then so that you can move them up or down, kind of like Toronto did with Galchenyuk, which is a pretty rare situation.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think a lot of it matters too about contracts, right? Like they need to. He makes a good amount of money. He's not just a rental. I think his cap hit's pretty high. I just think that they'd have to move a contract back, so Ottawa would have to take a player back. Yeah. Just because that's why like Wolanin, when Wolanin went down on waivers, right? He was on waivers. The Kings could have had him for free, but they needed to move a contract out too, so that's why there's a trade made.
Yeah, exactly.
So it could be one of those situations, but who knows? I mean, it's been very quiet so far leading up to the deadline. I don't expect it to be very crazy. I would think Dzingel's the only one who gets some kind of interest, but they were reporting today that he's not getting any. So
yeah, that's crazy.
Who knows?
And then Coburn and Gabranson. I can't see really either of them going. We might get a late pick for Coburn, and like somebody, Bruce Garriock said today, just because he has a ring. Just a good guy to sit, maybe play as your 7th, 8th guy.
Yeah, sure. Why not? I really hope that that's the only reason these guys are in the lineup and Brannstrom isn't, because having Brannstrom in the press box is so useless.
I know.
It's really frustrating. So I would hope that that's why. And if it's another week of that, then that sucks, because he could be doing this down in Belleville.
Yeah, really though, it's really frustrating, and it's almost as if Dorian wants him to play, but DJ doesn't. So
yeah, it really feels like that.
Kind of keeping him there so DJ can play him, but just refusing to at this point.
I think post deadline, let's say you can move out Coburn and Goodbranson, not even Josh Brown. I think honestly, I think Goodbranson has been the more serviceable player than any of those other two.
Yeah.
When he played in a limited role, he was actually really effective, I thought, and it was with Brannstrom, to be honest.
Yep.
So he's a guy I think teams could take a chance on, but I think post deadline, if we can get just Brannstrom, Bernard Docker, and then Zaitsev, Shabbat, or Zub and Riley, like that's why not, right? And I think a lot of people are gonna be disappointed. I don't think that's gonna happen. I don't see it happening with this team.
It'll be tough,
but that's ideal. So we'll see.
Yeah. And one more comment I wanted to get to here is I wonder how many people know Batherson trains with Crosby and McKinnon here in Halifax over the summer. I'm also from Nova Scotia, so I certainly know this. Huge Drake Batherson fan, probably my favorite player on the team. And it's incredible to see, like, there's a bunch of clips that are posted in the summer of the three of them training with a bunch of guys around. And it's just so cool to see such a young guy under the wing of all these superstars. Yeah,
and Brad Marchand, too, I believe, is in there. It's a good group. I think he was talking about it on the Wally and Mathot show when he was on there. He was on for, like, their second episode or something.
Yep.
And he mentioned, because one of them asked him about training with those guys, and he said, like, the first couple of practices he's nervous because you don't want to mess up in front of these superstars. And I know that feeling. Like, it's not fun when you're playing with guys who are better than you, right? And you just don't want to mess up. You don't want to be that guy to mess them up out of the rhythm. So that's cool. I think that's nothing but positive for if he can continue to just train with those guys and learn from them. Pretty much, it's awesome.
Yeah, and like Sidney Crosby and Nathan McKinnon do so much around here. It's incredible. And like in the off season, they're like best friends. Like they're doing everything together. They're working at Tim Hortons. They're going golfing. They're doing whatever. So it's really good to see the kind of whole community of Nova Scotia work together, including Drake Batherson. Yeah,
it'll be interesting to follow the way he kind of trajects up, I guess.
Yeah. So yeah, we can kind of get back into our goals. We mentioned we didn't actually even mention the Dzingel goal. He, the only person on the ice that knew where it was. Connor Hellebuck was looking the other way, and he just kind of potted it in. It was nothing special, but it was pretty good. So, yeah. And then Connor Brown, 4 games, 4 goals. Love to see it. He's on fire lately. And, again, great goal. Great pass by Artem Anisimov. Like, every time I give up and just say get rid of him, he surprises me.
He's a really, really frustrating player to watch because he looks like he's just slow. He's slower than he was last season, that's for sure. And he's just making plays. He's got a nice connection with Dadonov. That's cool. But like I said, it's a little too late for it to do anything. But I mean, hey, these guys are professional athletes. Like they got to play for some kind of pride and stuff. So that was a nice pass to see. And yeah, Connor Brown, he led the team with 5 shots. No one else had more than 2. Including our guy Brady Tkachuk had 1 shot. That is the first time in quite a while, I believe.
Second time this season.
Second time. Okay.
Yeah, he had one few games ago, I believe.
Yeah, he was fighting the puck a little bit tonight, I noticed. But hey, he can't be on every single night. And even though he wasn't on, like he's still mixing up a little bit. A couple penalties. That first one though, is that not indicative of, oh hey, I've called 3 against the Jets already, like I need to give, like just grasping at straws, like bad. I think if he doesn't retaliate, I don't know if retaliation is an actual penalty you can call. Is it not?
No, it's just whatever the retaliation was.
Okay, so that's definitely a retaliation penalty because he got dumped. I think it was Thompson. He got dumped by Thompson. Pretty clean play, to be honest. Like nothing. And then he's just obviously pissed, and he kind of just takes a swing at him, and then Thompson falls to the sniper in the building. But that's that's just a tough one to have go against them. And then I'm not going to defend, the Sens power play because I have no faith in it. But right at the end of the game, Tierney stops on a dime, and it was going to about less than 20 seconds, I want to say. They're breaking in. He stops up, and he could probably make a play with it on his backhand, and he gets his feet kicked out of under him, and then nothing happens. Yeah. So if you're not going to call a penalty at that point in the game, I don't know when you will, but that's all right.
Yeah, officiating has been abysmal this season, to say the least.
Mm-hmm. I want to go back to Norris's goal just because I talked about it before, but I didn't say that he needs to be on that top unit. I think I've already said it, but to take faceoffs first of all. But how good would he be in that shot, like that spot right there? And then you could get Batherson in the middle. Like they gotta try something. And they're like what 26 in the league now. Like they're just not good.
Yeah, something's got to change, and I think the hope is that Pinto and Bernard Docker come in and help that. Personally, I hope that they don't burn a year of their contract. If one, like Bernard Docker, comes in and is fantastic, sure, play more than 7 games. But if Pinto comes in and he's just kind of playing what I expect is for him to come in and kind of play the same game as Tierney is for us right now. I don't expect him to come in and be a superstar for us or anything.
No.
So I think some time in Belleville could certainly help. Like obviously his ceiling is way higher than Tierney, but so
I'd be way on board with him pretty much doing what Norris did last year, like play all season in Belleville, come up for a couple games. Let's assume next year is normal, which I think by the looks of it, it's going to be. If everything's normal, you could play the whole year in Belleville, get that confidence. And I think Norris is like the expectation right now for Pinto, and I don't think that's out of the blue. Like I think that's completely reasonable.
Yeah, I agree.
Not like a rookie of the year performance in Belleville, but just spending a whole season there and then pushing for a spot in camp, which is what Norris did. Like people, Logan Brown's just the most polarizing prospect in the system, but he got beat out by Josh Norris for a spot in camp. Like we didn't get to see anything, but that was his spot to lose, and he lost it. So that's what Pinto's going to have to do. And I don't know about the rules about them burning a year because they just signed out of college. Like
if they play more than 7 games this season, it was the same as
Okay, so then if they play more than 7 games, this would be year 1, and then it's almost over.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Ideally, no.
If they both come in and play the rest of the season, we then have those 2 and Stützle and many more up for a contract in the same year.
Yes. Not ideal.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't say that they're like going to get huge paydays. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to tell, but I know what you mean. It would be unfortunate. So does that mean if they they're like in, I'm trying to word this. If they're in Belleville, like let's say they play 6 games in the NHL, then they send them down to not burn a year.
Yep.
And then year 1 would just start in October?
Yep.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And so Natty here says, and I don't think this is correct, but it might be. But I'm pretty sure both of them are the exact same situation. Same one as Stützle was in at the beginning of the season. Mm-hmm. So, it's just 7 games in the NHL, and that burns a contract year. Okay, yeah, so I don't think it would be worth it, but at the same time, hey, if they're producing, then you got to reward them, right? Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. I just want to see them play. I think it'd be really cool. I think they're coming back home tomorrow. Like the Sens, they have a home game on Sens, Wednesday, right? Yeah. Back to back against the Oilers at home. Finally finished with the Oilers this season, thank God. Let's keep fingers crossed. The Oilers just lost in overtime to the Habs. They blew a 2-0 lead. Really? Yeah. So expect their best on Wednesday, here, Sens fans. I don't know if it's gonna go so great for us. I'd say. I mean, Connor McDavid is 64 points already. Like, slow down. It's just a team that they don't match up well against, and I don't know if they ever will. And that's fine because they're in the Western Conference.
who cares? But oh my God, has that been not fun to watch this year?
Yeah, it's been rough. So I don't really have anything else to add about this game. Do you?
I'll mention it in my 3 stars.
Okay. So yeah, you go ahead with yours then.
Okay. So third star, I'll go with Forsberg. Just he made a couple of actually really nice saves in the third.
Yep.
And he's looked pretty good to start his for the last. He's played 3 games now. He's 1-1-1. He's looked like just like a NHL goalie. And Bruce Garriock tweeted that Murray and Hogberg are close to returning, and oh my God, they need to pick it up because they're not guaranteed starting roles anymore, and they shouldn't be. I'm not a goalie coach by any means, but if you're not stopping the puck, you don't deserve to be between the pipes for an NHL organization. So, Forsberg with 42 saves tonight, he was good. He kept it from being embarrassing. I think that's the way to put it.
I could count on one hand how many times we got 42 saves this year.
Oh yeah, like not a ton, and the team's done a lot better in terms of giving up that many shots a game. Like routinely, they've been out shooting the other team actually, which is encouraging. So that's my third star. Second star, I'm gonna go Alex Formenton.
Yep.
I don't think I've gotten a chance to really talk about him on these because I don't think we haven't done a ton of them lately. But Formenton looks so good. He's so fast, and he's not just fast, he's longer than I thought he was. And what I mean by that is like he's got a good stick and he's rangy. So he looks like he's a step away from you and boom, it's off your stick. It's kind of like Mark Stone. We've compared like 6 players to Mark Stone, I think, this year. But it still works because the way he can take pucks away from people is just so good. And his foot speed is only going to help him in that way. And I think he's been really good on the fourth line. And I think he should get a shot with Norris and Tkachuk at some point because they had Nick Paul up there and Paul kind of struggled tonight.
Yep.
But that's my second star. I thought he was really good in 9.5 minutes. He had a big block on the penalty kill.
Yep.
So Alex Formenton for sure. And then first star Norris, I already went off about him. I think he's just been fantastic this year. Not in enough Calder discussion, I don't think. Because him and Stützle has kind of dropped off on the scoring front. But yeah, I'm really happy with Norris.
Yeah, fair enough. And yeah, I can't really argue any of that. I think I'll go Mike Riley for my third star.
That's a good one.
He played a great game tonight. One of his better ones as of late. He struggled a little bit lately, but overall, he's been playing great hockey for the past probably month and a half, 2 months.
Yeah, he really has.
And I think that's 10 points in his last 14 games now. So he's doing exactly what we want him to do, and just been a lot better lately. And him and Zub complement each other so well.
Yeah, they really do. Zub was really good tonight too, I thought.
He was. I'll give my second star to Ryan Dzingel. Ryan Dzingel just 2 points tonight, goal and an assist, and he's just been so good since he came here. Like I don't know how many points and how many games he's at now, but it just amazes me that he just came back and just like that, right back to his old form. So good on him for keeping it up. And I'll go Anton Forsberg for my first star. Sorry. And like he does such a good job of controlling the puck. He let out a lot of rebounds, but he kept them in a spot that there was no shot. Like it was not a high danger opportunity, and he just had a good job of keeping control of the game, keeping the pace low in our end. So
that's a good point. Yeah, I think not a great game to watch overall, but the third period was good, and I think that showed they had some life. And earlier in the year, they wouldn't have pushed that hard if they were down 4-1, right? They would have just kind of gone through the motions. So that was really encouraging.
Yeah, it was one of the better third periods we've seen. And so, yeah, that's kind of all I really had for tonight. Oh,
do you want to do who has to be better?
Who needs to be better?
I'm going to go with I'm just going to say Nick Paul, just because tonight he was playing with Norris and Tkachuk, and he was struggling, which is unlike Nick Paul, I should say. Not what we were accustomed to, and if he wants to be able to play up and down the lineup like that, which he is able to do. He's got to be better with those two on his line.
Yep.
So just that's my guy.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm gonna go with the face-off dot. It's just terrible. Like I'll just rhyme off the numbers real quick: 20%, 39%, 50, 22, 43, and 20. Just ridiculously unacceptable. So
complete domination from the Jets.
yeah, like if I go over to the Jets, 33 out of Kopp, who only took 3 face-offs, but 71% for Scheifele, 68% for Adam Lowry, 82% for Pierre-Luc Dubois on 11 face-offs, and 57% for Nate Thompson. Like,
and it wasn't like scrambles where the wingers were coming in. Like a lot of them were just clean sweeps.
Yeah.
Which just kills everything that you're gonna try and do. So that is where they need to improve, I think. And we've seen them have really good face-off games, I think. And there's been times where it looks like they're losing key face-offs, and I don't really have like a stat to pull up for that. But tonight was just unacceptable in the middle.
Yeah, it was one of our worst nights, I think.
For sure.
Again, in the face-off dot. So yeah, that's kind of all I had. Felt really good to be back on live. So
it does, yeah. I wait, sorry, one. So Formanton and Batherson actually also took face-offs, but they're 0%. Formanton lost 2 and Batherson lost 1.
Yeah.
So just nothing to write home about.
There was only 4 forwards that didn't take a face-off tonight,
and it still didn't work.
Yeah, and also worth noting, Anton Forsberg with a 9-13 in a 4-3 loss. So
yeah, hey, I mean, what was Hellebuck?
So yeah,
Hellebuck had an 870. So
wow,
hey.
Really?
Yeah.
I guess we didn't have many shots, and yeah, we had 3 goals. So wow.
Yeah. Yikes. But hey, he was better than the other goalie. That's all we're asking.
Well, yeah, I guess we've been preaching that all year. So
yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's all I have. So thanks everybody for coming to watch, and it's again great to be back. And we will see you Wednesday night, I believe the next game is. So
yep.
Yeah, take care.